Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Mr. Kovald, and in this video I'm going to be going over some practice problems with dimensional analysis, aka conversion factors. So remember, when you're using conversion factors, you're using this relationship between two units. You have an equality, like 1 foot is equal to 12 inches, and then you use those two parts to create what is called a conversion factor, which is a fraction or a ratio of one of those over the other. So either I have 1 foot over 12 inches or 12 inches over 1 foot, and I multiply by that ratio or fraction. And so I'm going to have a few examples where I'm going to go over how to do that, how to set up the problem, and how to get your answers. So follow along and see if you can figure out how to do this. If you want to pause the video and then do the calculation yourself and see if you did it right, by all means, go ahead and do that. Okay, let's get into this. So, problem number one, I'm going to use a blue marker so that this is clear. So we have 19 inches and we're being asked to convert 19 inches to feet. So when you begin your problem, you start with whatever the given is and you put that over 1. So I'm going to have 19 inches is what I'm given, and I put that over 1, and now I can multiply by my conversion factors, and I multiply by as many conversion factors as I need to get the answer. And I know I've got the answer when I've got the unit that I want on top. So here I have inches on top. To start with, I want feet. So I need to convert using conversion factors until I get feet, the unit feet on top. So do I have an equality that relates inches to feet? And we do. We know that 12 inches is equal to 1 foot, so we're going to use that. So now, since I have inches on the top here, I want that to cancel out. So that means I'm going to need to put inches on the bottom. So 12 inches goes on the bottom. So 12 inches. So I have 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. So I'm going to use that. So 12 inches goes on the bottom. 1 foot goes on top. Inches now cancels out. Now I have feet on the top, which is what I want. So I'm done. So now all I need to do is use my calculator to convert, to do the calculation. So let's go ahead and do that. So I've got my calculator now. Hold on a second. So then what I'm going to do is, so whenever you set this up, you're going to multiply across the top. Everything on the top you multiply by. Everything on the bottom you divide by. I like to just do the top first, multiply by everything, and then divide by everything on the bottom. I skip ones because multiplying and dividing by 1 doesn't do anything math-wise, right? So this is 19 times 1 is 19. And then divide that by 1, you still got 19. So I'm going to end up dividing that by 12. So it's just 19 divided by 12 equals, and I get 1.58. So something about sig figs. Remember, if you are multiplying and dividing, then the rule is the answer should have the same number of sig figs as the least number of sig figs that you have. But that would be, so we have 2 sig figs, so that our answer would be ultimately 2 sig figs, so 1.6. You get 1.58 feet, but we would round that to 1.6 feet, so that would be the answer. If you haven't covered sig figs yet, then don't worry about that. All right, so next we have 840 inches needs to be converted to centimeters. So again, they're giving us 840 centimeters to start with. So we're gonna start by putting that over 1. So we're going to have 840 inches over 1. And then we multiply by our first conversion factor. So again, I don't want inches, I want centimeters. So I'm going to use conversion factors to convert to centimeters. And when I get centimeters on top, I'm done. So that's my goal. So I need a relationship, if any, between inches and centimeters. If not, then I'm going to have to multiply by a conversion factor. I'm going to have to convert to a different unit until I can get to centimeters. But in this case, we do have a relationship between inches and centimeters. We know that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. This is a good one to memorize. This is used a lot. So inches to centimeters. So since I have inches on top, I'm going to put 1 inch on the bottom. I need inches on the bottom, so 1 inch goes on the bottom. So 1 inch. And then 2.54 centimeters goes on top. So we're going to put 2.54 centimeters. Why does inches go on the bottom? It's so we can cancel out with inches on top here. And now we have centimeters. We have the unit we want on top, which is centimeters, right? We want centimeters. So we've got centimeters. So we're done. That's it. So now all we need to do is multiply and divide. So here, again, I'm going to multiply by whatever's on top and divide by what's on the bottom. So since what's on the bottom are both ones, I don't really need to do anything there. So here it's just multiplying 840 times 2.54. So let's do that on our calculator. So again, we get 840 times 2.54 equals, and again, we're going to get 2,133, so we get 2,133.6, and that's centimeters. And again, if you're familiar with the rule of sig fig, significant figures, the rule is that when you're multiplying and dividing, your answer can only have the same, has to have the same number of sig figs as the least number of sig figs in your measurements. So we have 3 here. Technically, we have only 2 here. So we are only allowed 2 sig figs. So here we have 1, 2. So we can keep the 2 and the 1, and then these 2 have to be replaced by zeros. And so that would be our final answer. Again, if your teacher hasn't gone over sig figs yet, then you don't need to worry about sig figs. So as long as you got the answer, that's important with regard to dimensional analysis. So as long as you're understanding how to set up the problem and get the answer here, then you're good, right? But if your teacher is expecting you to write the answer in the proper number of sig figs, then this would be your final answer here. Okay. All right. So what about this number here? We have 5,400 inches, and we want to convert that to miles, right? So again, we start with what we're given, 5,400 inches into over 1. And then we're going to start to multiply by conversion factors. So we need to convert inches to miles. Now, if we knew exactly how many inches, if we knew the relationship between inches and miles, how many inches are in a mile, we could do one step. But I don't know that. I don't know anyone who just happens to know that. So we might have to do more than one step here. So I do know the number of feet in a mile, right? So I know that 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. And you probably have a table given to you, or you could look this up, that has this relationship there, so you could use that as a conversion factor. So I know that 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. So if I could convert inches to feet first, then I could use this to convert to miles. Do I know a relationship between inches and feet? I hope so. We know that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. So we know that. So 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. So I can use that to convert inches to feet. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to put 12 inches on the bottom. Why? So that I can cancel out inches on top. And then 1 foot, the other side, 1 foot goes on the top. So inches cancels out. Now I have feet on the top. But I'm not done because I want miles. So I have to keep going. I have to keep using conversion factors until I get the unit that I want on top, which is miles. So now I have to do another conversion factor. This time I check this one off. I already used that one. I'm going to use this one now. So I know that 5,280 feet is equal to 1 mile. I have feet on top, so I'm going to have to put feet on the bottom. So this goes on the bottom. So 5,280 feet goes on the bottom, so I can cancel out feet here. And then I put 1 mile on top. So feet cancel out. And now I've got miles on top, which is what I want. I'm done. No more conversion factors. So all I have to do is take the numbers on top, excuse me, multiply by the numbers on top, divide by the numbers on the bottom. Ones you can skip because they don't really affect anything. So let's take our calculator. So I'm going to multiply 5,400 times 1 times 1, doesn't do anything. It's going to be 5,400. And now I'm going to divide by on the bottom. So I would divide by 1, doesn't do anything. Divide by 12, so divide by 12, and then I'm going to divide again by 5,280, so divided by 5,280 equals, and I get 0.0852, 0.852. There's a couple numbers there, but that should be enough. And so this would be miles. And so again, if you haven't gone over significant figures on this, then that would be perfectly fine. Again, the goal is to understand how to use conversion factors or dimensional analysis to go from one unit to the other, or what we call conversion factors. But if your teacher expects you to understand and know the significant figures rules, then again, the number of significant figures in your answer should equal the least number of sig figs in your answers. So these two are exact. You ignore anything that's exact. So these we don't need to worry about. And we're given this number here. Technically, that's only 2 sig figs. So your answer here should only have 2 sig figs. So these zeros are in the front are not significant. This one, the 8, the 5 are. And then the 2, 8 and 5 is 2 sig figs, so the 2 we would have to drop. So 0.085 miles would be your answer. Okay. Next one, 4. Sorry. So we have 2,300 seconds, and we want to convert that to weeks. So let's get into this. So we start with what we're given. So we're given 2,300 seconds. We're going to put that over 1. And then we just multiply by conversion factors until we get to weeks. So we have to have a relationship from seconds to something else. We know that there are 60 seconds in a minute. So let's do that. So 60 seconds in a minute. Seconds is going to go on the bottom. So 60 seconds goes on the bottom. 1 minute goes on top. So now seconds cancels out. We have minutes on top. So, but we don't want minutes. We want weeks. So what can we convert minutes to? We can convert minutes to hours. Okay, so there. So I know that there's 60 minutes in an hour. So I have minutes on top. So I'm going to put 60 minutes on the bottom, and I'm going to put 1 hour on top. So now minutes cancels out. Now I have hours. So, but I'm not at weeks yet, so I need to keep going. So here, what can I convert hours to? I know there are 24 hours in a day, so let's convert to days. So I'm going to put 24 hours on the bottom because I want hours to cancel out, and I'm going to put 1 day on top. So now hours cancels out. Now I have days, but I still don't have weeks. But I know that there are 7 days in a week. So I can now use that to convert to weeks. So that's my last conversion. So days are on top. So I'm going to put 7 days on the bottom. So days will cancel out. And 1 week goes on top. So days cancel out. Now I have weeks. Weeks is what they want. I'm done. So no more conversion factors. All I need to do is now multiply and divide. So I'm going to get my calculator. So I'm going to multiply by everything on the top and divide by what's on the bottom. Again, you can multiply by 1 if you want, but it really doesn't do anything. You can skip the ones. So here, there's all 1s on the top, so there's really nothing to multiply by. So I have 2,300. I'm going to divide by 60. So 2,300 divided by 60. And then I'm going to divide by 60 again. Divide by 60. And then I'm going to divide by 24. So divide by 24. And then I'm going to divide by 7. Divide by 7. And then equals. And I get my answer. And you should have the same answer. It comes out to 0.00. I'm going to write it right here. So 0.003802. 3802. There's more digits, but that's enough. And this is going to be weeks. Okay, so again, if your teacher didn't really go over sig figs or doesn't expect you to have the proper number of sig figs, then that's okay. If your teacher does expect you to have the proper number of sig figs, then we need to make sure we have that. So anything that's exact is ignored. So 1 week is exactly 7 days by definition. 1 hour is 24. One day is 24 hours by definition, so that's exact. 1 hour to 60 minutes, 1 minute to 60 seconds. Those are all exact true by definition. And so the only thing you have is this number here, which is technically 2 sig figs. So your answer should only have 2 sig figs. These zeros are not significant. So the 3, the 4, and that's 2. So we're going to stop there. We drop those. And so your final answer would be 0.0038 weeks. So that would be your final answer. But again, as long as you have this answer, as long as you understand how you're setting up the dimensional analysis, your conversion factors, and you're getting this answer, that is really a large part of this particular video. That's what we're kind of focusing on here. All right, here the next two we have are larger, they're word problems. We need to figure out how to do word problems. And so the first thing you want to do when you're doing a word problem is pull out all of the relationships that you have between units. Like if you see something that says something per something, like miles per hour or miles per gallon or minutes per whatever, right? So anything that's going to be a relationship between those two units, right? They're saying that you're going to have something per something is like saying having something over something, right? So we're going to write that down as an equality and then use that as a conversion factor, however we need to use it, okay? So let's start with this. So we're going to pull out our conversion factors. So each student is given 3 pens. So what is it? That's 1 student equals 3 pens, right? That's a relationship. That's an equality. We could use that as a conversion factor. So we know that each student gets 3 pens. That's 1 student to 3 pens. There are 8 pens in 1 package. So we can write that 1 package equals 8 pens. So that's a relationship. So we're going to write that as an equality. One package of pens equals 8 pens. Each package costs $1.88. So one package equals $1.88. Okay, what else do we have? Do we have any more relationships? No, we're given a certain number of students, but those students aren't related to anything. I guess you could say one class is equal to 28 students, but really they're just giving you the number of students in a particular class. So that's not really a relationship. So they're giving us 28 students. So the question is, what is the total cost of giving away pens? So once you've got your relationships here, the next thing you need to do is figure out where you're starting and where you need to end. And the question is almost always the place you're going to go for that. So the beginning of the question is the ending of your problem. So here, the beginning of the question is, what is the total cost? Excuse me. So what is the total cost and of what? Of giving away pens. So what is the cost to me to giving away pens to who? My 28 students. So what I need to do is I need to start with 28 students until I can get to the cost in dollars, right? How much is it going to cost me in dollars to give away pens to 28 students? So we start with 28 students. 28 students over 1. And so my first conversion, I need to convert students to something. Do I have a relationship between students and something else? I do. I know that one student is equal to 3 pens. So let's convert students to pens. Not literally. Okay, so here we go. So one student on the bottom, I want student on the bottom, so it cancels out with students on top, and then that's going to be equal to 3 pens. That's going to go on top, so students cancel out. Now I have pens. Okay, great. But I want dollars. I want the cost in dollars. So let's underline that, cost in dollars. So now I have pens. Now I have a relation between pens and packages of pens. So let's use that. Convert pens to packages. So now I'm going to do that. And so my next conversion is going to be, now I have pens. So 8 pens is equal to a package. So I'm going to put pens on the bottom. In this case, it's 8 pens now. So 8 pens is equal to 1 package. So 1 package goes on top. So package. So pens cancels out. Okay, now I have packages. So now I can convert packages to dollars or cost, and then I'll be done. So this is my last conversion. So 1 package is equal to $1.88 or $1.88. So I'm going to use that. So now I can now put package on the bottom. So 1 package goes on the bottom, and then $1.88, $1.88 goes on top. So now package cancels out. I have the cost in dollars. I am now done. So now all I need to do is calculate using my calculator again. So here we go. So I'm going to take 28. I'm multiplying by everything on the top, and I'm dividing by everything on the bottom. So I'm going to take 28 multiplied by 3, multiplied by 1, which isn't going to do anything, multiplied by 1.88 equals, now I'm going to divide by everything on the bottom. So divide by 1 doesn't do anything. Divide by 1 doesn't do anything. Now I'm going to divide by 8. So divide by 8. And then I'm going to divide again by 1, but doesn't do anything. And so my final answer, ladies and gentlemen, is 19.74. So that's going to be equal to $19.74. So it's going to cost me $19.74 to provide pens to my students. So I am such a generous teacher because I'll spend that money for my students. All right, so last problem, same idea. Whenever you got a word problem like this and you want to solve it using conversion factors or dimensional analysis, you need to pull out the relationships, okay? So we're saying you need to drive 350 miles, right? So maybe we're going from San Ramon to LA or whatever other places you want to go. So whatever it is you want to drive 350 miles, your car gets an average of 42 miles per gallon. Notice the miles per gallon, that's a relationship. You're relating miles to gallons of gasoline. So we'll write that down. So here, so we know that, where are we? 42 miles. So 42 miles is equal to gallons of gas. Okay. Then we're told gas costs $5 per gallon. There we are again, something per something. So that's going to be a relationship. So we're going to write that as an equality, right? So $5 of money is equal to 1 gallon of gas. So $5 is equal to 1, I forgot to put the 1 there, gallon of gas. So 42 miles is equal to 1 gallon, and then $5 is equal to 1 gallon. Okay, so now we've got the equalities, we've got the relationships pulled out of the problem. Now we have to figure out where to begin and where to end in our problem. And again, 99% of the time it's in the question. Your beginning and ending is almost always going to be in the question. Not always, but almost always. So here the question is, how much money? So remember, the beginning of the question is the end of the problem. That's your goal. That's your end. So how much money? That's the beginning of the question. How much money? So that means that's where you need to end. That's where you're going. How much money? We need to get to money, dollars. So we want to go from dollars. We want to get to dollars. Will you spend on the gas? Well, where are we going to begin? Well, it's not in the question, but look at this other piece of information they gave us. We're driving 350 miles. That's where we need to begin, right? You're not going to begin with your conversion factors. That's going to help you get to your ending. So this here, this number, this piece of information that's by itself is given to you, and that's where you're going to begin. So we start with 350 miles. So 350 miles over 1. And finally, okay, so we got miles. We need to convert miles to something. Do we have a relationship that has miles in it? Yes, we do. We got 42 miles is equal to 1 gallon of gas. So let's use that to convert miles to gallons. So since I have miles on top, I'm going to put 42 miles on the bottom. So 42 miles on the bottom, and I'm going to put 1 gallon on top, and that's 1 gallon of gas on top. So miles cancels out. Now I have gallons, but I don't want gallons. I want money, dollars. Now I can use gallons to dollars. I know that $5 is equal to 1 gallon of gas. So I have gallons on top. So I'm going to use that as a conversion factor. So now gallons goes on the bottom because I have gallons on top here. So that's going to cancel. So I'm going to put 1 gallon on the bottom. And now I have $5. I'm going to put $5 on top. $5 on top. Now the gallons cancels out. I have dollars, which is money. That's what I want. I'm done. Now I can go ahead and just calculate. So I'm going to get my calculator once more, last time. We're almost there at the finish line. So I'm going to take multiple